Hi, I'm Sam from Interface. We're Bitrix24 Gold Partners. In today's Bitrix24 demonstration, we'll be presenting a new feature called flows. So flows are a universal tool for any size business that has to deal with repetitive and standardized tasks. And flows allows you to collect tasks in a centralized area and then distribute those tasks amongst employees. And a benefit of this task distribution mechanism is that you can then efficiently distribute tasks amongst a team or department, saving time so then employees can start to work on those tasks instantly. And the reporting and notification systems that are built into flows allows managers to instantly be alerted when bottlenecks or delays occur in a flow process. So this allows managers to be proactive and try to troubleshoot and prevent the flow from performing poorly. Okay, so let's now move over to our Bitrix24 system. And let's just discuss first of all where flows are stored. So inside your Bitrix system, you want to go into your tasks and projects module. And then you'll see at the top, there'll be a tab called flows. And inside here, we can then see the flow homepage with all of the information about the flows that are currently active inside our system. So as we can see in our site here, we've got flows for our support department, development department, marketing department, and the web design department. So most commonly, you'll have a flow created for each department. And inside this flow page here, we can click into the flow and we can then see more information about the flow itself. So we can see the people who are associated to the flow and the allotted time for each task on that flow. So we can see some information there. And on the flow homepage here, there is also additional information that we can see, such as information about the volume of tasks inside that flow. We can see how many tasks are pending and in progress, and we can then also see the critical efficiency score. So this score gives an instant visual indicator about the performance of that flow and what teams and departments are struggling here when the efficiency score is lower. So this gives you that high level overview of the details of each flow inside your flow page. And what you can do inside here is we can click into the flows tasks and we can then see all of the tasks here associated with that flow. And what's really useful with the tasks that we can see here, there are different views that you can navigate through to see those tasks of the flow. So from your list view to the deadline, we could also see this through the planner view and calendars and Gantt. So just like you can in other areas of Bitrix for task management, you have those views available inside your flow system. Okay, so let's now look at creating a brand new flow inside our Bitrix24 system. So when we want to create a new flow, we can click on the new flow button. And this then opens up the flow page. So as we mentioned, you want to create a flow for a department and bring that group of people together so then employees can submit tasks to that group of people, and then the flow mechanism can distribute those tasks amongst the team. So let's call this new flow the legal department because we're going to be submitting contract reviews to the legal team. So we can give the flow the title there, and then you can also add a description to explain to people what this flow is about. So let's now add that information. Okay, so we're going to be submitting contract reviews to the legal department here. And then we can configure what users within the Bitrix system are allowed to add tasks to this flow. So I'm going to enable all employees here to submit tasks to the flow, but you could control this and have specific individual users or departments who could submit a task to the flow. And then we need to set up the planned completion time. So as we mentioned earlier on today, a flow is for standardized and repetitive tasks, okay? So those should all have the same deadlines. So what we can now add into the flow is the planned completion time. So whether that be hours, days, or months. So for these contract reviews that the legal department will be completing, we're going to allow 3 days for that task to be completed. So when someone submits a contract review task into this flow, it will automatically add a 3-day deadline on that task. And you can control whether you skip holidays and weekends or allow that as part of the deadline matrix. Okay, so the next step is how we then distribute those tasks amongst the legal department. So there are different mechanisms that are available inside your flow setup. So the first option is the user queue here. So what this option will do is we can automatically have the tasks distributed across the team who are working on that flow. So inside here, I can select the flow team. So what we can do inside here is we can add the users from the legal team who are going to be associated to this flow. And so using this feature here, it will automatically allocate that task to the next person when that next task comes into the flow. So it's going to distribute those tasks evenly across the flow team. Now you also have the option here to assign manually. So what this option would perform is when the task is added to the flow, it will be assigned to one designated person who can then decide and distribute those tasks amongst all of the employees in the flow. But for our legal contract review process, I'm going to allow them to be distributed automatically, evenly across the team here, so we can start to work on those tasks instantly. And a new feature that will be coming is the self-assigned tasks feature. So that will allow users to pick pending tasks within the flow so they can then start to work on new tasks when they become available. And some additional settings to look at within the flow setup here is whether you allow the assignee who is working on the task to change that deadline. So I don't want to be able to have that functionality for our contract reviews. We want to set that 3-day deadline process. We're going to enable the halfway point alert. So the employee working on that task will be notified halfway through as a reminder. And you can also submit a task to the creator for an approval. So you could turn on there an approval process. So once the task's completed, we could send it back to the creator to check if they're happy with the information on the task. We can then also associate the task with a project. So if you already have a project set up, you could connect that inside the system here. And we can also use templates for creating tasks. And this is a really nice feature because within the flow, you're going to be using this for standardized repetitive tasks. Having a task template means every time a task is added into that flow, you can standardize the information on that task. So we don't need to then go back to get more clarification. The task can then be started and worked on instantly. So this is a really valuable feature to use. So we have a legal department template set up, and you can add other templates that you could show inside here as well. So let's now add the legal department template. And then we can finally add our flow administrator. So this is the owner of the flow who can essentially be managing the flow. And what the flow administrator will be able to do is assign tasks out if you do the manual assignment process. And we can then also notify the flow administrator when specific triggers are associated on the flow. So for example, we could notify the administrator when the number of pending tasks exceeds a specific number. So let's say here, if the number of pending tasks in the legal department's flow exceeds 5, then Andy Naylor will be notified. And if the number of tasks in progress exceeds 10, then they're going to be notified. So you can start to see here the actual notification mechanisms that we can put in place ensures that the flow administrator is notified when we hit specific threshold levels. And really, this can allow them to be proactive to manage the workload in that flow team before it becomes too inaccessible for the team to manage all of the tasks inside the flow. And if that does happen, which would mean the efficiency score would drop if tasks aren't completed by their deadlines, we could also set up a notification to go to them if the efficiency score drops below a specific number. And that efficiency score is calculated based on the tasks that are completed within their deadlines. So the lower the efficiency score, the more the team is falling behind on the tasks that they are working on. So these are some really powerful notifications that we can set up to help the flow administrator ensure that they're able to manage the workload of their flow team. And that's a critical advantage of using flows inside Bitrix24. And lastly, BI analytics will be available soon, so we'll be able to build out dashboard reports of the information inside our flows. Okay, so let's now create that flow inside the system. So that's now created the flow, so we can now connect that folder and drive to our flow inside the system. And we can now see that legal department flow has been added into the flow page. So now we can start to allocate tasks to the legal department. So if we wanted to add a task now into that flow, all we need to do is click on Create Task. And that then opens up the task template. So we set up a task template that every user would use if they want to submit a task into that flow. So you're standardizing what information can be submitted on the task, which is very useful for the team to be able to use when they start to work on the task. So let's now add this into the information page. And I can give this a title as well. Okay, so we'll add the information. And we can see here we need to add a link. So let's now add the link into here. And you can see here the assignee and the deadline. This is all already been auto allocated here. So we can't change this information when we're adding a task into this flow because it's already been set up during the settings. It's going to add a 3-day deadline and it's going to auto allocate this task to an employee within that flow team. So if we now add that task into the system, we'll see now the flow mechanism is going to automatically assign that task to a member of the legal department. So we can see here that's been assigned now to Andrew Naylor. And so if we go into Andrew Naylor's profile, what we can see is they've been notified now that that task has been created and assigned to them inside that flow. So they can now start to work on that task inside their flow page. So that's now been routed instantly to that employee inside the legal department. So they can start to work on that task instantly through the flow system. And now if we just go into and add one more task into this page here. So let's now add a second contract review. And what we'll see in this example here is because we are using the auto allocation feature on the flow page, when we add this task into the legal department's flow, this is now going to be allocated to the next representative inside the legal department. So we can see now this contract review has gone to Sam Connor. So it's gone to another employee inside this legal department's flow. So we're not having to wait to distribute the task. Using the flow mechanism, it's automatically assigned it now to the next employee inside the legal flow department. So they can now instantly start to work on that task inside the system. And so That's one way we can add tasks into the flow. And let's just take a look at another way we can also add a task into a flow page. So if we're inside our task management area of Bitrix, as you can see here, we can see what tasks are associated to what flow. If we click into the create task page, you can create tasks as you usually do in Bitrix. But a new feature that you'll see now is the select flow feature. So if you wanted to add a task into a flow through this UI, you can simply select the flow from the drop-down list here, and we can see the efficiency score. So if I was thinking of adding a new task into here, this gives you that visual representation as to how each flow team is currently performing. Okay, but I want to add a task here into the support department's flow as I have a support issue. So let's add our new login problem into the support flow. Okay, so we'll add this new task into here. And when we add this task now into the support team, let's now look at this through the UI of our flow. What we will identify here is the administrator of the flow has been notified that now there are 4 pending tasks inside the support department's flow. So that's that alert mechanism that we looked at earlier on. If there's a specific number of pending tasks, they can be alerted. So I can now, as the support department administrator, I've now been instantly made aware that we have too many tasks that are pending inside the support department flow. So I need to start looking into this and start managing the workload of our support team. So that level of notification allows the manager to be proactive now and start to work to reduce that troubleshooting process. So inside here, we can now see all of the support department's tasks, and we can see those 4 pending tasks. So I need to start getting these managed so we don't have this troubleshooting issue in the future. So that's another way of setting up those notifications on our flow system. And then the users who are going to be working on their tasks on the flows, they can work on their tasks as you standardly do inside Bitrix. So as a user on my flows, I can see all the tasks that I'm responsible for, and I can see what flow they are connected to. So I can work on my tasks inside my Bitrix system. So adding my information, I can complete the tasks. Okay, so I'm going to add a comment here and notify my colleague. And now I'm going to complete this task. So I've finished this task, which is part of the support department's flow. And once I finish this task, we can now see it's gone to the owner of the task who created it to complete an approval process. So we can see here now this is going to be managed as an approval. So I now need to see if I want to approve or send the task back for a revision. So this is a really useful feature within the flow mechanism, is we can have the creator of the task have an approval matrix. So whether they want to accept the task as completed, or based on the information, they may want to return it back to the person to revise the task and add additional information. So I'm going to accept that this task is completed. I'm happy that the login problem has been resolved. And what that will now do is it will automatically update the stage of that task to completed. So that's a really powerful approval process we can manage through the flow mechanism as well. And based on those tasks being completed, that will update the efficiency score on that specific flow inside the system. So we can then analyze the performance of each flow. As we saw through the alert mechanism, when a specific number of tasks are pending or in progress, that's a very powerful way to be able to manage all of your team in that flow to make sure the workload is sustainable. And using the efficiency score, we can drill down in the filtering tool. So I can just analyze here what flows are below a specific efficiency level. So I can see where we need to prioritize our management teams to work to get these flows back on track and manage the workload of tasks into that specific team. So those are the benefits of using the flow mechanism inside Bitrix24. We can easily and instantly distribute tasks amongst our teams, and we can use the alert and reporting mechanisms to proactively manage our tasks within those flows and be alerted to when there may be our potential bottlenecks in any flow that we need to work on. If you would like to schedule a demonstration of flows for your specific requirements, you can contact us, sales@interface.com, and look forward to seeing you on our upcoming and future demonstrations.